for infos. Live special coverage will start shortly. (16:01) Good afternoon to all of you guys. It's now 15th September 2020. Of course, it's my birthday celebration on a new normal, better normal. Of course, I'll be going to celebrate this wonderful birthday celebration at home, whereas we are not yet allowed to go outside because of the modified general community quarantine. And of course, my mom's buying the cake for me. And so, without further ado, what I have realized for the last 6 months that I have been into quarantine. Of course, here's the first and foremost thing. Is that non-stop learning experience. I have attended webinar. And yes, of course, we should be participating into the webinar via Zoom, albeit on some sort of educational content that I have to learn more about. Number one thing that I have realized is this. Yes, of course, there's some sort of anxiety, depression, and even obsession, perfectionism that I have to manage as well. Of course, this case is a call of the FEASTSMDasma is tuning in. Shout out to the FEAST media family, especially for the FEAST Cavite district, FEASTSMDasma, FEAST Bacoor, FEAST Imus, and also FEAST like Fora, Tagaytay, FEAST like 13 Martes, FEAST Lancaster City, and yes, of course, due to the community quarantine, we are forced to do most of the Holy Mass worship and powerful talk at home. This is why Feast at Home has been composed by the Light of Jesus family. Thus, I'll be able to attend the Mass, even my family as well. Also with the worship and powerful talk, sometimes I do some sort of worship. And the next thing that I have realized is this. I have also similar birthdays with Tito Rene Apostol, Sis Mary Ann Berlin Masa. Happy birthday also to those who are celebrating their birthdays on the same day. Of course, if I'm going to do some sort of a mini quiz, that would be more of, I have some sort of giveaway for those who are going to win. Especially if you're in a top 30 later on, which is powered by Kahoot on the bio or the pop-up quiz via Kahoot. Yes, of course, it is all about my life experiences. And so, you have to spell out the correct name properly. And yes, of course, the pop-up quiz will be aired shortly. So stay right there. For those who will be the top 3, would be more like of 100 pesos worth of GCash. And yes, of course, while waiting for the cake, especially Padapalas at standstill once again. Oh my goodness me. Yes, of course, the top 3 could be more like of giving out some sort of prizes. that I could give away? Of course, don't forget to stay right here on DP24 GTV, here on Facebook and YouTube channels. So please stand by. Well, of course, number two that I have realized is this. During that time that I got struggled, especially in terms of, anxiety, depression, obsession, perfectionism. Yes, of course, you have to be sure on what you're going to do. It's okay not to be okay. And upon Sis Jelly Uson's checking on my mental health condition, of course, I gave an orange heart, and of course, there's a deeper meaning on it. Sadly, my thesis teammate Kenny sat outside. And of course, we have to do something on what we could do. Plus, you have to be careful on what you're about to say, because everyone is suffering right now. Lo and behold, I have my friend, especially from dear feasters from FEASTSMDasma, also the AWGP SOS fam, Evolution team, Elevate team, under the 8 Quest or A plus Quest, in which it got started from, there's a program with Coach Yani that she's hosting, and of course, Sis Joyce Ping Trevino, Brother Rocco Nasino, and eventually, I got surprised that Coach Russ Hoson is also joining with that particular Zoom webinar rather, or Zoom related programming, which is a slide of a hookup. And well, if you're going to ask what could it be, the background music, it's from Sir Joachim Carud. He's a musician, also a vlogger, and well, speaking of that music piece, it has been also used by GMA News in relation to the lovely couple, Brother Juancho and Sis Joyce, collectively known as One Choice. And besides, Number 3 realization is that you won't ever regret on what you're doing, especially if you're going to meet in public, which is incidentally I have to wear some sort of mask for protection, plus the sanitizing alcohol. Plus, you have to listen to this one. Though I'm single still, no relationship with someone that I'm longing for. But of course, with my singlehood experience, I could enjoy more of learning activities and even worship alone. Plus, I might be going to, do some sort of activities that would inspire more of the audiences, not only for Dasmarineños right here, but also for the nationwide, worldwide, netwide audiences. And I'm very thankful that through this wide range of technology, which is more of FB, and also what I have to do is that I have a plan for 2021, especially for the upcoming graduation, and of course 100% sure that I would be more like of October yan graduate as per my forecast. Plus, you might need to spend a year for the review. That being said, that I might have to postpone everything, including this live session upon graduation, because I might have to concentrate more, and might as well I have to release a tape edition of vlogs that I have planned to start, but for some unknown reasons my laptop got into, hanging already, and I'm looking for some sort of solution. But let's set aside this problem. One thing that I have realized is this: with the simplicity in mind, better yet, I would rather go for the PowerPoint related presentation that would be used as a opening billboard, of course. Plus, you might need to, or should I say, what I need to start right now is the proper financial planning. While I'm waiting for the Zoom, of course, Sis Casey greets me also, happy birthday. Thank you so very much for your greetings. And here's number 4. What I have to reflect more on what I'm going to start as a first step for the defining the relationship is that there's a need to love ourselves. Might as well that we have to go exploring all of the places that we need. We have to dream more, we have to focus more, and we have to inspire more, so that we could be blessed and be loved and motivated. That being said, is that we have to practice the readiness for the upcoming chapter. Is that we have to prepare it in person, also organize thoughts. Being said to that thoughts that we have to, think about what we could say to others. As a person with special needs, I'm very sensitive to some certain words that I might get offended easily, and might as well we have to remind each other with regards to the words that we're saying. We should avoid judging too quickly without, going to the deep story, to the heart-to-heart talk. And this is what the previous episode, or the live previous episode of Dear Paul in Focus live session on the Blabbering Through series during the enhanced community quarantine, that I have mentioned all sorts of problems, troubles that I have encountered. Number 5 that I have to learn more is that you have to go through most of the educational system that we have to reform, we have to renovate, we have to innovate as well. We're heading to the new normal, better normal situation that face-to-face meetings could sooner or later be banned until such time that we are going to meet sooner or later. FEASTSMDasma could not resume safely because the Life of Jesus family or the Feast family doesn't allow to do so, even though we are in the general community quarantine, or the modified moderate general community quarantine as well. Plus, number 6 that I have realized is this: physical touch could be optional. Yes, of course, with the free hugs minute that I have experienced from 2017 to 2020, is that I have learned to hug one another, do some sort of handshake until it got prohibited lately this 2020 due to COVID-19, and instead of holding hands on the Lord's Prayer, we have no choice but to do more of a prayer position like this. And that being said, is that I have experienced a hug from my grandmother in Quezon province, but sadly, she got passed away last July upon the breaking news. Of course, Lola Ligaya, dear Paul misses you so much. Mother Yaga family misses you also dearly. Number 6 would be more like of, you know, I'm into surprises already because what I have to do if I would like to surprise my friends, even my family, or, you know, my crush, is that I have some sort of mysterious actions that it has to be executed properly. And what I have learned from One Choice vlog, Brother One Choice surprise, is that 7-1, you need to have a logistical plan. That being said, is the public transportation availability, and of course you have to do some sort of effort that might as well that she would feel so special. And 7-2, let's be sincere always, it must be from the heart. And what I have wrote down the surprise note to her is that I use the term keeper of the heart. Sounds sweet, isn't it? And yes, of course, we're streaming live via StreamYard. And as you can see on this top right corner of the screen, it's powered by StreamYard. Can't you imagine that? I was able to simulcast it to the separate browser windows. Of course, we have to, you know, document it if possible. And this is what I have failed to do. Though it is a photographic one, but I cannot show it to you because of privacy reasons. That being said, that she has to give a go signal to show it to the public. But of course, with the camera that I use to the smartphone cam, albeit on the widescreen, of course, memories will be created. I'm lost if this could be the 7th or the 6th one because I have lost track of everything, but let's proceed to number 8. But before the number 8, I have met a wonderful lady, or let me say, she's from Binyan City, Laguna. Of course, there's a way for me to surprise her, especially while I'm waiting at the supermarket. Of course, this is what happened. She got very surprised upon my arrival at the supermarket in Carmona. Of course, if you're worried about the privacy, the live stream for the Facebook will be taken down after the live stream so that it would be on archival basis as well. Of course, I have 2 audiences already. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Let's have it. And if you have missed this live stream, the replay edition will be aired on YouTube as well. And so, if it's on the Facebook, I might have to split into pieces so that it would be aired as well as part of DP24 in Focus live session, birthday related episodes. And well, going back to the story is that she got very surprised last 3rd of March 2020 in time of the Women's Month. Of course, with the kilig vibes on the air within the supermarket, she have to request me to go outside of the premises and steer away from some sort of distance from the door to avoid some sort of, obstruction. And I understand and respect her request as well. Of course, what she have realized lately is that my bag's so heavy. And of course, I have to, manage it properly as well. And of course, I have a laptop and books and everything inside. Yikes. And that conversation on site ended up at 17:15. Of course, I have to go home. And here's the plot twist here. While I'm heading back to Tasmania City, of course, the jeep's been until General Alvarez. Of course, I have to walk and have some sort of fun run all the way until the Tasmania City's entrance arch. Whereas the LTV company bus, shout out to the LTV company here if you're watching. Of course, hopefully the provincial buses, if allowed by the LTFRB, would be come back. And it's the advantage of most bus companies, but there would be some sort of limitations that I'll going to discuss later on. And so, with the plot twist aside, the DLTV company have zoomed past on my left side while I'm doing some sort of fun run. And here's the disclaimer: I have used the sidewalk for safety's sake. And of course, upon the arrival in Tasmania City, this is what happened. Oh my goodness me. Despite the unsatisfied passengers, I got this sigh of relief rather. And of course, I have to, distribute the paper-based warnings that it says like no stopping, no loading and unloading in General Alvarez Silang border. The reason that I have to create such signages on a bond paper printed aside is that I have to inform well for the rest of the conductors and even captains about the ruling. But sad to say, for me, it's an act of discrimination already that disallowing any particular mode of transport could cause a massive inconvenience as well. In order to avoid some sort of penalties, the border zone could be, or the boundary line for Tasmania City could be more like off a temporary measure. Apologies for the dog bark, especially this live stream. It happens. But maybe I'll close this window down to cancel out some sort of background noise. But moreover, we should have some sort of compassion to one another, love one another, and to lift each other up. And of course, here's the next one. Number 8, realization. I have started taking down some sort of notes, especially on the planner that I have to, take down some notes. And of course, I have still experimenting on the electronic counterpart of the journaling, so as not to waste the paper resources. And I have some sort of elevator pitch that I might have to practice anytime soon. And well, for the Zoom, unfortunately, no one is attending on the Zoom session. I have to cancel it out. The quiz that is supposedly be aired has been postponed. Of course, by the quiz on the biography of mine could be scheduled to some date or probably next year. And here's number 9, realization. I have to start investing for the future, especially with the knowledge on finances. And this is the reason why I have to join into that team. Is that finances could be managed as well, and I have to say this to you. I have some sort of mistakes that in the past, instead of spending for the purpose of a tuition fee, I have to invest into the, web licensing and everything else. And you know what? I have realized that there's something wrong with my financial management. Hopefully, this would never happen again. As if I have to lock down on my finances and not to misuse the funds that are meant to be for the education or basic needs, unless you're working already. And here's number 10, realization that I have needed to say. is that everything that we have could lose at any time. This is what I have realized something on the death of my grandmother. Might as well that my grandmother is always hugging me while I'm at the Quezon province, which is also in Calabarzon, reachable by land, and also hopefully at the right time comes, true love will prevail, especially into the relationship that I'm longing for. Of course, we should love God first before you love others. And besides, there is a need for most of the realizations that I need into Ilocos region. Of course, the previous vacation with the travel group that it's much better to be safe with that grouping than to be sorry, especially on the plans that we have to execute. Of course, this stopover could be more like of welcome arches, and of course every travel must be treasured. There's a moment that we could be going through a certain destination that we could love more. As a Filipino, of course, local destinations should be revisited once it is fully allowed. Number 11 realization is that feast is always my home prayer meeting already. Of course, despite all of our sins, all of our mistakes, God would love us unconditionally. Even though there would be insecurities on your part, might as well that we are created in the image and likeness of God. Or should I say, image and likeness that God have designed. Next realization is that on the travel that I have been through passes, I always value safety as well. Certain buses that can erratic, especially on the railings that were installed in LBO Cavite, and if the door is not on the exact position, then there would be a summon already, just to protect not only myself but my fellow Lyceans as well, and save from all sorts of jaywalking citations that we should avoid at all costs. LPU Cavite have a policy against jaywalking. So with the Dasmania City's Ordinance, Carmona Municipal Ordinance, Bacoor City Ordinance, and most cities and municipalities, including the MMDA, we have to check out with your local ordinance regarding the anti-jaywalking policies. Good afternoon, everyone. Of course, apologies for some sort of technical issues that I have experienced. It happens normally, as if I have to realize something that there would be not knowledgeable with the technical know-how. On my next realization is that we should be avoiding some sort of, dead airs and other problems that we might be facing. And yes, of course, we have to realize that technical know-how could be limited on a certain cases. And that being said to that, it's more like of my humbling experience. And yes, of course, we should avoid most of the dead air in most cases, particularly on what I have monitored lately is that a particular meeting got into dead air for at least 15 minutes without any sort of replacement. Of course, it's an actionable offense already. And being said to that, we have to be careful on what we're going to execute and say that if there would be any sort of technical issues, you have to inform the audience properly in an honest way, and you have to avoid some sort of arguments to avoid further issues. And of course, Coach Russ got out immediately after he have realized something, that there would be much further problem. Of course, I have to respect his decision to be on time on the broadcast or webcast or webinar or anything similar. Next up, we have number 13. On the desk that I'm using, I got lately realized that it is a necessity to set up the table. Might as well that my mom is late already for my work at home experience, particularly in setting up most of the webcast, particularly in the remap session that I have been a part of. Well, what you could realize something on the work from home, or what everyone else on the work at home or class at home, is that a table and a chair and a laptop and a camera is a necessity. next up, on the health aspect, number 14, we should take care of our health. And by being said that, of course, health is wealth, and I do agree on that. In times of emergency like the pandemic disaster, coronavirus disease or COVID-19, we should take care of ourselves, and we should avoid any sort of late night task that would deprive us of the healthy sleeping cycles. Number 15, on the conservation of the energy, might as well that I have to practice once again conserving energy, including the, going to more of the base coverage that I have to take care also of the equipments, and if there's something wrong, I'll rather going to restart the whole computer unit rather than keeping on hanging until its failure point. And we have to avoid much of the disaster situation that would cause much damage to the equipment. Work at home, class at home could be compromised if there would be a power fluctuation or interruption. So please make sure that you have to save your work before it's done or before it is slated to be submitted. Number 15, going through those challenges, especially on taking some sort of media related content, I do always make sure that there must be of originality in the content, and we should avoid infringing on somebody else's copyright. And if I have to do something, then you have to go through a proper processes. I'm not 100% sure if this would be a crisp display here, but I'm sharing on what I have realized something. But please do let me know if there are some sort of problems that you might have encountered. Next up, we have to respect one another, especially on the value of time, boundaries, and even more on what we should do and not to do. This is the perennial problem on the disrespect to the law and order, and I'm greatly affected on it. Most likely that if you're watching here, then we should respect one another once again. Being said on the DCWD, it says here, courtesy and discipline. But for my case, it's the 5S discipline that we should observe. Why 5S discipline? Of course, 5S would entail more of the sort, set in order, shine, systematize, and sustain, and the discipline would be more like of combined term, bliss and discipline. This is where most of the people right here are lacking of. 5S discipline is that I would like to campaign more of. I'll show it on the YouTube side. Of course, once again, we should practice 5S discipline at all costs. And then, next thing that I have realized, if there would be a plan, do execution properly without any sort of distractions or interruptions. If you have noticed here that I have to simulcast on an isolated environment, is that everything, including the live stream, if possible, we should find ways to simulcast if possible. And this is what I have attained in this special day. I'm open to all of the policy changes from the institutions, groups, and even the individuals. Might as well that I have adopted series of policy changes here on DP24 in response to the automation problems in connection to copyright issues. Well, I'll not be showing up any sort of ownership claiming box to all of the videos in order not to put the whole DP24 in a negative light. And as always, let's think more of the positive ways that we should spread the word without any form of infringement. Number 18, on what I have realized that my cousin's debut, Sister Giselle, is that I was the one assigned to be the escort. And well, there would be more fun and experience already to enjoy not only with my relatives' company, but also to learn from one another as well. And that being said, is that I have attended so many debutants, as well, including my neighborhood friend, Sister Abby. Of course, she would be more likely a doctor someday. Number 19 is that we should have to manage wisely our resources, which is mentioned earlier. Of course, we have to prepare for the future. And that being said, is the side income that I have to earn more. Slowly but surely, everything will be elevated as always. Next up, we have number 20. We should be prudent in what we're doing. I have a mistake already with the page for the FEASTSMDasma. I'm the editor usually, and of course my only mistake is this: I haven't informed properly ahead of the time before some sort of changes to the settings that usually it has to be with supervision already. From the page admins. Before this one comes to a close, the session should be back shortly after the break. Well, it's now 17:32 or 17:32 Philippine Standard Time. Of course, DP24 in focus special coverage here. And this is your one and only dear host speaking. Of course, here's the good news for you. DP24 Radio is now available on TuneIn Radio or TuneIn app. Don't forget to download TuneIn app for more of the latest updates. Might as well. We're still available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and other major podcast platforms. Hopefully, DP24 Radio will soon be aired on Amazon. While the process is ongoing, especially on my next realization is that scholarships and other forms of privileges that were granted to me could be continued as well, and I'm applying also for the educational assistance to the newly dubbed foundation. Well, of course, scholarship could be granted more to the qualified beneficiaries in which, oh my goodness me, this happens. Apologies for some sort of disruption here because somebody's speaking right while at the special coverage session. Well, let's say that this happens usually, but of course, it would be against our policy here. So we must be careful not to disturb anyone else. I'm figuring out on what part should I remove this cover. Oh my goodness me. Well, if you have a clear voice, then it's now okay. So let's resume with this session. Oh my goodness. Of course, the sudden disruption on what I could be presenting. Please bear with me as well. Might as well that we have to continue this with the last 4 realizations that I have been done. And here's the last 4. On what I should do more on the podcast is that I should be frequently uploading the episodes. but for some reasons, due to my busy days, it never gets uploaded except for the live. I switch the sound to here. Yes, of course. On the upcoming episode that I might be as well going live soon, that, you know, not everyone that not everyone can agree on what we're saying, especially if I have to summon on what they have done wrong as a gentle reminder to be observant of the rules. Might as well that everything that I have said before is that implementing rules and regulations could be usually proper, especially if it's implemented properly. 21st realization, that's my grand debut. All at 21. On what I have left here is this, the letter P at the background might be used for further vlog episodes that would be more like of sit-ins and everything else in between. 22nd one is that I have sort of creativity skills that I have shared already at the earlier part of the special coverage. Might as well that if there would be a betterment of the production value, then I'll go for much of the editing software that is being used for vlog productions, and even the visual and the sound effects. Still, I have to observe some sort of copyright rules to avoid some sort of infringement cases. Of course, Sir Joaquin Carod have produced so many music pieces intended for the vlogging and other sorts of production, as long as there will be the attribution. 23rd, on the 23rd one, I'm going to share some sort of a mapping thing and it's courtesy of OpenStreetMap. Please wait for the Facebook counterpart. Because very limited, of course. I'll show it to you that in the difference of the path that were usually going around in the circles, this would mostly happen in the near future. Taking out the signalized junction and taking into the new normal. Of course, there would be a new mini segment, new normal on work. I'm not sure on what could it be the schedule. And yes, of course, it's coming soon on DP24 GTV. And I should invest more on the equipment and everything else in between, just to continue on the production value of the whole DP24 GTV. But I'm going to start it right sooner or later. Going back, that there's one thing that I have missed sometime. I have a zero idea on what it means to court, especially someone. Sooner or later, at the right time, possibly after the graduation, I could begin courting the girl or the woman that I have to love for the rest of my life. Of course, everything else in between that, academics, engineering, mapping, worship, is what the topmost priority that I have to focus on. And having said that, the courtship or the so-called panliligaw entails more of the commitment. Sooner or later, sis darling, if you're going to watch or listen to this message, hopefully we could meet one another once again at the right time. And of course, we could have on one-on-one dates and many more. Here's the bonus one on why I have to change the logo or the identity of the live broadcast into DP24 instead of Dear Porter 4. Well, here are the two reasons behind this. First up, it is to simplify the branding, and second, has to be fit with the circular or box-shaped logos. And so that's what I have realized on the 24 things that I have done. Let me know in the comments below if you need any further discussions, especially for the YouTube. And well, don't forget to follow, like on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. Don't forget for both Facebook and YouTube to tap on the notification bell or the notification settings. Set it to all or standard in order for you to be updated on what's next with DP24. As I'm heading into the 5S discipline philosophy, might as well the LPU and GPL philosophy, is that as a Lycean student, we could fight for what is right and just. So guys, thank you very much for watching this wonderful special coverage. Hopefully, to my future self, especially if you're working right now as an engineer, then here's the message for you. You can do greatest things and achieve into your dreams and aspirations towards the better future, and to 5S discipline, we could be truly rich in all forms. Don't forget to serve one another, cherish the moments, and love unconditionally. Until then, don't forget that be safe, be well, stay sane, you are loved, and as much as possible, have a nice day to all of you. Of course, thank you very much for watching this special coverage. Please be mindful that the whole content is copyrighted. Have a nice day to all of you, and I